Male mosquito lives around 1 week. Butterfly lives around 2 weeks. Mayfly lives around 24 hours. Drone ant lives around 3 days. Tick lives around 1 month. Mite lives around 1 month. Firefly lives around 2 months. Praying mantis lives around 6 months. Slug lives around 6 months. House mouse lives around 1 year. Chameleon lives around 1 year. Octopus lives around 1 year. Cuttlefish lives around 1 year. Jellyfish lives around 1 year. Starfish lives around 1 year. Coral lives around 1 year. Crab lives around 1 year. Earthworm lives around 1 year. Shrimp lives around 1 year. Ladybug lives around 1 year. Krill lives around 1 year. Anole lives around 1 year. Frog lives around 1 year. Catfish lives around 1 year. Seahorse lives around 1 year. Panther chameleon lives around 1 year. Leech lives around 2 years. Gecko lives around 2 years. Zebra finch lives around 2 years. Newt lives around 2 years. Sparrow lives around 2 years. Robin lives around 2 years. Hummingbird lives around 2 years. Toad lives around 2 years. Betta fish lives around 2 years. Basilisk lives around 2 years. Garter snake lives around 2 years. Barracuda lives around 2 years. Duck lives around 2 years. Mackerel lives around 2 years. Quail lives around 2 years. Nightingale lives around 2 years. Starling lives around 2 years. Sunbird lives around 2 years. Warbler lives around 2 years. Wren lives around 2 years. Raccoon lives around 2 years. Scorpion lives around 2 years. Mink lives around 3 years. Sea urchin lives around 3 years. Tarsier lives around 3 years. Skunk lives around 3 years. Hedgehog lives around 3 years. Swordfish lives around 3 years. Pheasant lives around 3 years. Magpie lives around 3 years. Skink lives around 3 years. Clownfish lives around 3 years. Angelfish lives around 3 years. Piranha lives around 3 years. Tuna lives around 3 years. Cardinal lives around 3 years. Salmon lives around 3 years. Trout lives around 3 years. Mole lives around 3 years. Fox lives around 3 years. Waxwing lives around 3 years. Deer lives around 4 years. Badger lives around 4 years. Weaselbird lives around 4 years. Pangolin lives around 4 years. Dragonfly lives around 4 years. Blue jay lives around 4 years. Roadrunner lives around 4 years. Woodpecker lives around 4 years. Kingfisher lives around 4 years. Iguana lives around 4 years. Pigeon lives around 5 years. Sea cucumber lives around 5 years. Lobster lives around 5 years. Porcupine lives around 5 years. Dingo lives around 5 years. Goose lives around 5 years. Cobra lives around 5 years. Goldfish lives around 5 years. Falcon lives around 5 years. Hawk lives around 5 years. Grouper lives around 5 years. Shark lives around 5 years. Hammerhead shark lives around 5 years. Rattlesnake lives around 5 years. Viper lives around 5 years. Salamander lives around 5 years. Axolotl lives around 5 years. Caecilian lives around 5 years. Horned lizard lives around 5 years. Komodo dragon lives around 5 years. Tern lives around 5 years. Puffin lives around 5 years. Quokka lives around 5 years. Sea lion lives around 5 years. Walrus lives around 5 years. Seal lives around 5 years. Toucan lives around 5 years. Wombat lives around 5 years. Tarantula lives around 5 years. Squid lives around 6 years. Wolf lives around 6 years. Meerkat lives around 6 years. Caribou lives around 6 years. Penguin lives around 6 years. Bedbug lives around 6 years. Eel lives around 6 years. Sturgeon lives around 6 years. Cormorant lives around 6 years. Guinea pig lives around 7 years. Crow lives around 7 years. Capybara lives around 7 years. Ocelot lives around 7 years. Osprey lives around 7 years. Heron lives around 7 years. Red panda lives around 7 years. Honeybee lives around 8 years. Chinchilla lives around 8 years. Jackal lives around 8 years. Otter lives around 8 years. Owl lives around 8 years. Monitor lizard lives around 8 years. Ibis lives around 8 years. Lyrebird lives around 8 years. Opossum lives around 8 years. Moon jellyfish lives around 8 to 12 years. Hen lives around 9 years. Crocodile lives around 10 years. Boa constrictor lives around 10 years. Anaconda lives around 10 years. Dolphin lives around 10 years. Python lives around 10 years. Vulture lives around 10 years. Peacock lives around 10 years. Crane lives around 10 years. Swan lives around 10 years. Flamingo lives around 10 years. Parrot lives around 10 years. Cockatoo lives around 10 years. Raven lives around 10 years. Secretary bird lives around 10 years. Shoebill lives around 10 years. Kiwi lives around 10 years. Eagle lives around 10 years. Gila monster lives around 10 years. Koi lives around 10 years. Alligator lives around 10 years. Kangaroo lives around 10 years. Cheetah lives around 10 years. Tiger lives around 10 years. Koala lives around 10 years. Antelope lives around 10 years. Platypus lives around 10 years. Beaver lives around 10 years. Aardvark lives around 10 years. Boar lives around 10 years. Lynx lives around 10 years. Manatee lives around 10 years. Dugong lives around 10 years. Bafakalo lives around 11 years. Hummingbird lives around 12 years. Stork lives around 12 years. Hyena lives around 12 years. Cheetah lives around 12 years. Armadillo lives around 12 years. Lion lives around 12 years. Leopard lives around 12 years. Brush-tailed possum lives around 13 years. Dog lives around 13 years. Lion lives around 14 years. Tiger lives around 15 years. Llama lives around 15 years. Macaw lives around 15 years. Albatross lives around 15 years. Great whale shark lives around 15 years. Whale shark lives around 15 years. Moose lives around 15 years. Bison lives around 15 years. Orca lives around 15 years. Fossa lives around 15 years. Lemur lives around 15 years. Sloth lives around 16 years. Cat lives around 17 years. Platypus lives around 17 years. Polar bear lives around 20 years. Blue whale lives around 20 years. Zebra lives around 20 years. Condor lives around 20 years. Panda lives around 20 years. Okapi lives around 20 years. Sperm whale lives around 20 years. Narwhal lives around 20 years. Bear lives around 20 years. Humpback whale lives around 20 years. Cow lives around 21 years. Giraffe lives around 25 years. Queen ant lives around 20 to 30 years. Grizzly bear lives around 30 years. Bald eagle lives around 32 years. Chimpanzee lives around 33 years. Giant panda lives around 35 years. Gorilla lives around 35 years. Orangutan lives around 35 years. Horse lives around 40 years. Camel lives around 40 years. Camel lives around 40 to 50 years. Common goldfish lives around 40 years. Orangutan lives around 45 years. Andean condor lives around 50 years. Elephant lives around 50 years. Licon albatross lives around 55 years. Tuatara lives around 60 years. Longfin eel lives around 60 years. Macaw lives around 67 years. Olm lives around 69 years. African bush elephant lives around 70 years. Great white shark lives around 70 years. Orca lives around 75 years. Gray whale lives around 77 years. Kakapo lives around 80 years. Human lives around 70 to 80 years. European eel lives around 88 years. Blue whale lives around 90 years. Nile crocodile lives around 95 years. Pacific Ocean perch lives around 98 years. American lobster lives around 100 years. Japanese spider crab lives around 100 years. White sturgeon lives around 104 years. Freshwater pearl mussel lives around 110 years. Aldabra giant tortoise lives around 120 years. Mediterranean spur-thighed tortoise lives around 125 years. Rough-eye rockfish lives around 140 years. Geoduck lives around 150 years. Lake sturgeon lives around 152 years. Galapagos tortoise lives around 170 years. Orange roughy lives around 175 years. Bowhead whale lives around 200 years. Red sea urchin lives around 210 years. Quahog calm lives around 225 years. Giant tube worm lives around 250 years. Greenland shark lives around 270 years. Giant tube sponge lives around 2,000 years. Coral reef lives around 4,000 years. Turritopsis dohrnii lives around forever years.